This was supposed to be just another debate, until one brutal response turned it into a viral moment no one saw coming. The camera goes live. The studio is buzzing, not with noise but with a quiet intensity, the kind that comes when everyone knows something big is about to happen. The set is sleek, modern, with a backdrop of moving graphics, the network's logo glowing in the corner. Bright stage lights beam down onto the two men seated across from each other. One, the host, leans forward slightly, gripping his pen like it's a weapon. The other, cool and collected, leans back with the ease of a man who has nothing to prove. This isn't just another episode of the Daniel Carter Show. It's a showdown. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Daniel begins, flashing the camera his signature smug smile. Tonight, we're joined by a man who calls himself a self-made success story. Businessman, investor, and former corporate executive, Elijah Gaines. The applause is polite but mixed. Some members of the audience are here to support Elijah. Others, not so much. Elijah doesn't flinch. Dressed in a tailored navy blue suit, he radiates confidence. Not the kind that's loud and flashy, but the kind that comes from years of proving people wrong. Daniel barely waits before jumping in. Elijah, your story is, well, let's call it controversial. You built a multi-million-dollar business from the ground up, but many argue that stories like yours are the exception, not the rule. Elijah tilts his head slightly, a half-smile playing at his lips. Interesting. So, success is only valid if it happens to everyone at the same time. A few chuckles ripple through the crowd. Daniel recovers quickly. Not at all. But it would be dishonest to ignore systemic barriers. The economic playing field isn't equal, especially for black entrepreneurs. Some would say that your success doesn't disprove that. It highlights it. Elijah nods slowly, as if considering the point. I agree. There are challenges. But let's be clear. Barriers don't mean impossibilities. I didn't grow up rich. I didn't have connections. What I did have was drive, discipline, and an unwillingness to accept excuses. Daniel shifts in his chair, sensing where this is going. So you're saying anyone who doesn't make it simply didn't try hard enough? Elijah's smile doesn't waver, but there's a sharpness in his eyes now. I'm saying the conversation shouldn't always be about what's holding us back. It should also be about what's within our control. People love to tell you what you can't do. I'd rather focus on what we can. A murmur spreads through the audience. Some nod in agreement, others cross their arms. Daniel leans in, a gleam in his eye. He smells an opportunity. That's easy for you to say. You're one of the lucky ones, a rare case. A token of capitalism, if you will. And just like that, the atmosphere shifts. But Elijah isn't rattled. Not even a little. Elijah lets out a short, quiet chuckle. Not forced. Not nervous. The kind of laugh that comes when someone hears something so ridiculous, it's almost amusing. A token. He raises an eyebrow, his voice smooth but laced with something sharp. I've heard a lot of things in my life, but that's a new one. Daniel, sensing a reaction, presses forward. It's not an attack, Elijah. It's just reality. The system isn't designed for people like you to win. And when someone does make it, they're paraded around as proof that things aren't as bad as they actually are. Elijah nods slowly, considering his words. Then he sits forward, resting his elbows on the table. You know what's funny? I never hear this argument when it comes to sports or entertainment. Nobody says LeBron James is a token of the NBA. Nobody calls Beyoncé a rare case in music. But when a black man succeeds in business, suddenly it's a fluke. Why is that? Daniel blinks. The audience stirs. A few heads in the crowd nod. That's different, Daniel argues. Basketball and music don't have the same historical barriers as corporate America. Elijah doesn't hesitate. Oh, so now we're picking and choosing where success is allowed to be legitimate? Let me ask you something, Daniel. When was the last time you built a business from nothing? Daniel's mouth opens slightly, but no words come out. He clears his throat. That's not the point. Elijah doesn't let him off the hook. It is the point. You're sitting here telling me that my success doesn't count, that I'm some kind of lottery winner because it doesn't fit the narrative you're selling. But let's be honest. The only thing that makes me a token in your eyes is that I don't play victim. And that bothers you, doesn't it? The room goes still. Someone in the back lets out an audible damn. Daniel forces a smile, but his grip on the pen tightens. He can't afford to lose control of the conversation. I think you're misunderstanding me, Elijah. I'm not discrediting your hard work. I'm saying that your experience isn't the norm. Most black entrepreneurs don't have access to the same opportunities. Exactly, Elijah interrupts. That's why we should be talking about solutions, not excuses. Daniel exhales through his nose. He needs to regain footing fast. But don't you think systemic issues make it harder for certain groups to succeed? Elijah shrugs. Harder? Sure. Impossible? No. And that's the difference between me and a lot of people in these debates. I don't believe in waiting for the world to change before I move forward. More murmurs from the audience. Some agree. Others shift uncomfortably in their seats. Daniel sees his chance. So, you're saying racism isn't a factor? The question is a trap, a loaded gun disguised as curiosity. But Elijah doesn't flinch. Did I say that? He counters. Or are you putting words in my mouth? Daniel falters for a fraction of a second, just enough time for Elijah to go in for the kill. You want to talk about racism? Let's talk about it, Elijah continues. Let's talk about the way people like me get dismissed the moment we refuse to fit the struggle narrative. Let's talk about how the media only wants to amplify black voices when they're complaining, not when they're winning. Let's talk about how real gatekeeping doesn't come from the system. It comes from people who want to keep us boxed into a victim mentality. A wave of mixed reactions rolls through the crowd. Some are clapping, others shift in their seats, unsure of how to react. Daniel glances toward the producer off stage, who subtly motions for him to keep going. He swallows and leans forward again. So, in your opinion, people struggling just aren't trying hard enough? Elijah sighs, rubbing his chin like he's deciding whether or not to take the bait. Then, he looks Daniel dead in the eye. Tell me something, Daniel, he says, voice calm but cutting. Do you believe every struggling white person is a victim of the system? Silence. Daniel opens his mouth, then shuts it. His jaw tightens. The energy in the room shifts again. Elijah leans back, folding his arms. You see how that sounds? The audience reacts, a mix of laughter, gasps and murmurs. Daniel blinks, his mask of confidence slipping for the first time. He wasn't expecting that. But Elijah isn't done yet, not even close. Daniel forces a chuckle, trying to mask the slight shift in his posture. He's uncomfortable now. Not just because Elijah flipped the script on him, but because the audience felt it. He's losing control, and he knows it. Well, Daniel starts, tapping his pen against the desk. That's not exactly the same thing. Elijah raises an eyebrow. It's not? Daniel exhales sharply, reaching for any foothold he can find. White poverty exists, sure. But historically, black Americans have faced systemic barriers that white people haven't. No argument there, Elijah says. But tell me, do those barriers mean success is off limits? Daniel hesitates. Because that's what you're implying, Elijah continues. That black success is so rare, so unnatural, that when it happens, it must be some kind of accident. That's not analysis, Daniel. That's an excuse. The audience murmurs again. Some are whispering to each other. A few clap. Daniel shifts in his seat, his smile a little tighter now. He tries to laugh it off. "Come on, Elijah. You're twisting my words." Elijah smirks. "No, I'm just playing them back for you." Daniel's jaw tightens again. He leans forward, trying to regain control. "Let's get serious. You're an exception to the rule, and deep down you know that." Elijah tilts his head slightly, studying him. "You keep saying that, and I keep wondering, what exactly is this rule you keep talking about?" Daniel hesitates again. It's a half-second pause, but it's deadly in a debate like this. Elijah doesn't let him breathe. "Is it the rule that says black people can't build wealth? The rule that says we're supposed to struggle forever? The rule that says we should reject ambition and ownership because the system is unfair?" Daniel stammers, but Elijah keeps going. His voice doesn't rise. It doesn't need to. His words are sharp enough. Because that sounds less like reality and more like a story people want to believe. The audience stirs. Daniel's face twitches slightly, like he's holding back frustration. He straightens his shoulders. "You're ignoring history." Elijah lets out a breath through his nose, a mix of amusement and disbelief. "I'm living history." Another ripple through the crowd. The shift in energy is unmistakable now. Daniel's fingers drum against the table. He needs to turn this around. "Okay, then let's talk about today. Studies show that black business owners face higher loan rejection rates, less access to generational wealth, and fewer investment opportunities. Are you saying none of that matters?" Elijah nods slowly, as if giving Daniel credit for finally bringing up something concrete. "It matters. Of course, it matters. But you know what matters more? How we respond to it." Daniel leans in. "And what if some people don't have the resources to respond the way you did?" Elijah doesn't miss a beat. "Then let's teach them how." The audience reacts. A small cheer erupts from one side of the room. Daniel, caught off guard, blinks. He wasn't expecting that answer. He was expecting another debate, another philosophical argument about barriers and disadvantages. Instead, Elijah hit him with solutions. "That's the problem," Elijah continues. "We spend so much time arguing about why things are hard, but almost no time talking about how to win anyway. And I get it. It's easier to blame the system than to change your mindset. But at some point you have to decide. Are you going to fight for your success, or are you going to sit around waiting for permission to succeed?" Daniel opens his mouth, but nothing comes out. The audience murmurs again. Elijah spreads his hands. "Listen, I don't expect everyone to agree with me. But ask yourself this. Why is it so controversial for a black man to say, 'We can win'? Why does that bother you so much?" Daniel clenches his jaw. The tension is thick now. But what happens next? No one was ready for it. Daniel is struggling now. The control he thought he had? Gone. The smug confidence? Cracking. He knows it, the audience knows it, and worst of all, Elijah knows it. But he's not done yet. He can't afford to be. Daniel sits up straighter, forcing a smile. "Look, Elijah, I'm not trying to discredit your success. I'm just saying, not everyone has the same opportunities you did." Elijah nods. "Agreed. But what does that have to do with whether or not they try?" Daniel exhales sharply. "You're making it sound so simple." Elijah's lips curl into a knowing smirk. "And you're making it sound impossible." The audience reacts again. More people are clapping now. Daniel hears it. He feels it. This was supposed to be easy. He was supposed to expose Elijah as an out-of-touch businessman, a man who benefited from the system while pretending it didn't exist. Instead, he's the one looking out of touch. And Elijah? He's controlling the room. Daniel glances toward the producer off stage. He needs to take back control. That's when he makes the mistake. I just think, Daniel says carefully, choosing his words like a surgeon holding a scalpel, it's dangerous to push this idea that everyone can just pick themselves up and succeed. Some people are stuck in cycles of poverty they can't escape. Elijah leans in, eyes locked on him. And you think I wasn't? Silence. Elijah shakes his head. I wasn't born into money, Daniel. I didn't have family wealth, I didn't have a mentor, and I damn sure didn't have a roadmap. I had bills, debt, and a job that barely covered rent. So when people like you tell me that success is impossible for people like me, all I hear is an excuse. Daniel stiffens. You call me an exception, Elijah continues, voice steady but cutting. But have you ever considered that maybe, just maybe, the only reason more people don't succeed is because they've been told their whole lives that they can't? Daniel opens his mouth. No words come out. Elijah isn't done. See, that's the real issue. It's not just the system, it's the mindset. It's this narrative that's been fed to us that says, if you're black and successful, you must have gotten lucky. That's a lie. And the fact that you're sitting here trying to convince me that I shouldn't exist? He lets out a short, humorless chuckle. That says more about you than it does about me. The audience erupts. Clapping, cheering, even a few standing up. Daniel's face flushes. He shifts in his seat, gripping his pen tighter, trying to force a composed smile. But it's over. And Elijah knows it. He leans back in his chair, completely at ease. I came here expecting a debate. But all I got was another excuse for why people can't. And honestly, Daniel, I'm tired of excuses. The crowd roars again. The energy is electric. Daniel clears his throat, forcing a chuckle, but it's weak. Well, Elijah, you're certainly passionate. Elijah grins. Passionate? No. I'm just tired of the lies. The room is buzzing now. The cameras keep rolling. The producer off stage looks nervous. Daniel tries to recover, but it's too late. The moment has already slipped away, and within hours, the internet would make sure everyone saw it. The moment the cameras cut, the studio is still buzzing. The audience is talking, some excited, some stunned, some shaking their heads like they can't believe what they just witnessed. Even the production crew exchanges glances. They know what just happened. Daniel stands up first, adjusting his suit, trying to save face. Well, that was spirited, he says, forcing a laugh. Elijah simply stands, smooth as ever, buttoning his jacket. Good show, Daniel. His tone is polite, but there's an unmistakable glint in his eye. He knows he won. The second Elijah steps off the stage, his phone starts blowing up. Text messages, missed calls, social media notifications coming in so fast, his screen lags. His assistant, Jordan, rushes over, eyes wide. Elijah, he says, barely able to contain his excitement. You might want to check Twitter. Elijah raises an eyebrow and unlocks his phone. The first thing he sees is a clip, his clip, already circulating with a headline that makes him chuckle. Entrepreneur destroys liberal host in live debate, leaves him speechless. The video has already racked up hundreds of thousands of views in under an hour. Comments are pouring in. This dude just said everything I've been thinking for years. Elijah Gaines just broke the system with facts. My respect for this man is through the roof. The way he stayed cool while Daniel crumbled? Iconic. Somebody check on Daniel. Elijah scrolls. The reactions are all over the place. Some are celebrating him. Others, not so much. Just another rich guy telling poor people to work harder. This is dangerous rhetoric. He's dismissing real struggles. Not him acting like systemic racism just doesn't exist. He exhales, shaking his head. Here we go, he mutters. Jordan grins. Bro, you broke the internet. The clip is on every major page. Even Fox News and CNN are running it. Elijah isn't surprised. This was bigger than just a talk show moment. It was a statement. One that hit a nerve. That's when his phone rings. Unknown caller. He almost ignores it, but something tells him to pick up. Elijah Gaines, he answers. The voice on the other end is smooth, professional. Mr. Gaines, my name is David Langston. I represent a private investment firm. We'd love to discuss opportunities to work together. Your message is exactly what we believe in. Elijah raises an eyebrow. That didn't take long. Appreciate the call, David, he says. Let's set something up. He hangs up and pockets his phone, glancing back at Jordan. Big things coming, Elijah says with a small smile. Jordan laughs. Man, big things are already here. But outside the studio, Daniel Carter is not laughing. Back in his office, he stares at his phone, scrolling through his notifications. It's a nightmare. Clips of him floundering are everywhere. His name is trending, for the wrong reasons. Daniel Carter gets cooked on his own show. Watch a talk show host get absolutely humiliated in real time. He clenches his jaw. This wasn't supposed to happen. He was supposed to control the narrative. He was supposed to be the smart one. But Elijah flipped the script. Daniel exhales, rubbing his temples. And deep down, he knows. This moment will follow him forever. Days pass, but the internet doesn't move on. The clip keeps circulating. Commentators, influencers, and analysts all weigh in. Some praise Elijah for speaking hard truths. Others criticize him for being out of touch. But regardless of where they stand, one thing is clear. Everyone is talking about it. Elijah, however, doesn't get caught up in the noise. He's too busy, too focused. The debate didn't change his mission. It only amplified it. One evening he sits in his office, scrolling through his inbox. Message after message from young entrepreneurs, small business owners, and people who saw themselves in his story. Your words made me realize I've been making excuses. I needed to hear that. I'm done waiting. I'm starting my business this year. I used to think success wasn't possible for me. Now I'm rethinking everything. Elijah leans back, exhaling. This is why he does what he does. Because at the end of the day, success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Meanwhile, Daniel Carter's show releases a carefully worded statement. Damage control. He avoids mentioning Elijah by name, but everyone knows. His credibility took a hit, and no PR spin can erase what happened. But here's the thing. This was never about winning a debate. It was about a simple truth. Mindset matters. Effort matters. And waiting for the world to change won't build the life you want. So, the real question is, what are you waiting for? Because excuses won't get you there. Action will. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're ready to take control of your future, stop waiting, start building. Oh, and one more thing. Don't forget to subscribe.